What's the good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. We don't have any fair weather fans since we've been suffering for so long, but it's so frustrating the amount of energy, investment, and attention that I see all of you great fans pouring into this franchise year after year after year. And for performances like this, and pretty consistently, right? We don't have the luxury of saying that we've been a losing team for, decades, but at least we've kind of been competitive, right? We've always just been on the verge, and we just haven't been able to get over the hump. We've seen terrible, tragic losses, and while this one isn't up there with like the fumble performances and stuff, these kind of performances don't give any, inkling of a thought that the New York Jets will be able to turn this around. And silver lining wise, one of the things I can say is when you've seen Robert Saleh after a loss, and it's just an empty, it's a shell out there, right? The soul is long gone from the man, and he's just trying to, get out of there without being scathed even further. At least from Jeff Ulbricht's perspective, there still seem to, been some enthusiasm, some energy into trying to address some of these problems here. But these seem like they're going to be season-long issues, right? You take a look at the run game, our run defense specifically. We got gashed left and right by, players that realistically shouldn't be doing anything over, 50, 60 scrimmage yards in the grand scheme of things, right? This seemed like a game that was destined to kind of become a shootout, and technically that's what it was. But you have the lack of synchronicity, right? If that's the correct version of the word that I'm thinking of. The Aaron Rodgers and Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, Jeremy Rucker, Breece Hall, every one of our starters, effectively, nobody really feels like they're on the same page, right? Even for some of the moments that I got really excited and hyped up about here, you had a miracle Hail Mary after we let them go up almost 2 scores, 20-10 before the Hail Mary. Then you have that miracle laser where it fit just in a hip pocket of, I think, Rasul Douglas or Bernard, and fell into the arms of Alan Lazard, who was able to hang on to it over the middle for a first down. And then outside of that, again, you see a huge lack of fundamentals, right? And this is the piece that's really, really frustrating. So for one, if you want to go with your highlights, Breece Hall went off, although I'm pissed because I lost my fantasy week this week by like 2 points. And Breece Hall literally could have got them in this game. But due to some issues, which we'll chat about here, it didn't work. But he got over, I think, 150 scrimmage yards. He looked like he was able to recapture some of that glory. And keep in mind, there was probably a ton more yardage that was out there. Tyron Smith, I am largely concerned, right? We spent all offseason hearing about how he's been, largely owning. There was a couple of days where Jermaine Johnson was able to get the better of him, but it seemed like that was more on a rep-by-rep basis and not a total win for the day per se. Where's that guy at? What happened to Tyron Smith, the Hall of Famer, right? At this point, it's not too far gone to say that, John Simpson is the one that's making him look decent instead of the other way around, right? You've seen clearly the missed block, which was the could have been a huge play coming off the left side where he missed Rasul Douglas, just kind of like, I don't know, phantom shoulder bumped the guy, and Breece Hall just kind of ran into him. I think he would have been able to separate too, but nonetheless, Tyron Smith should have been picking up that block. You take a look at, I think he had 2 false starts today. Beat by Epinesa. I don't know what's happening with him, but he's also looking like a shell of himself. A man is already tired, exhausted, defeated. Might be time to give Olu Fashanu a serious look on the left side and just hope that Tyron Smith can kind of coach him up. Because at this point, Tyron Smith is actually hurting the team more than he's doing good, right? Aaron Rodgers still spent a vast majority of the time, which felt like him on the floor. And this was definitely a cleaner game, technically, from a pass perspective standpoint, but I feel like I'm having PTSD because every time I see him get cracked, I'm having flashbacks to, 10 more incidents, and normally that's all within the same game. So that was very frustrating to see. Mike Williams, I know a lot of people want to give Aaron Rodgers some slack on that final throw, but 9 out of 10 players of Mike Williams' caliber, 9 times out of 10, a guy of Mike Williams' caliber should be making that play. Absolutely pissed about that, and it was a great interception by the defensive player, but overall, it feels like that is the physical embodiment of the entire Jets experience, right? A play that should be essentially routine, it felt like, right? Mike Williams was open. There was an adjusted ball, which Aaron Rodgers spoke to. Seems like Mike Williams wasn't quite supposed to. He didn't run necessarily the correct route he was supposed to. Aaron Rodgers was just trying to allow him some time to make a play on the ball, and we see him slip, right? And then ultimately, I don't know about the whole injury thing after. It just seems like one of those knee-jerk reaction moments where a guy knows he's made a mistake, and this is the way to kind of, curb the disappointment, I guess, from the outside looking in. You'd have to be worried about his health before you want to call him out for, a potentially bad play there. So, and then Greg Zerline, Greg DeLake. So I know he's had some rough. He's had a rough go of it, right? Some shaky performances in preseason, and I think they called it out during the press conference. He's missed during the Broncos game, missed a few opportunities here, but I wouldn't say that Broncos game you can probably point to him for, but this game isn't one that I would put on him. Windy, crazy conditions. It's not like I think Tyler Bass is the Bills kicker. It's not like he was completely decimating stuff. You've seen a wild shank from him too. And then the defense, I don't even know what to really say, right? This is a team that looks so far removed from what we saw the last 2 years. The fundamental principles on both sides of the ball don't be there, right? They're just not there. You see guys looking like there's a lack of intentionalness when it comes to the route running, when it comes to attacking the balls, when it comes to these scramble drills and guys should be trying to run back to or give Aaron Rodgers an open window. You're not seeing that. You're seeing poor routes run. You're seeing wrong routes run. You're seeing, guys that should be able to make an easy catch and run situation. They're turning it into jump balls. You're seeing Breece Hall try to snag one-handed grabs when, if he just gets 2 hands on the ball, he's picking up an easy first down for us. Penalties. 11 for, I don't know, it was like 120 something yards, 111 yards, something of that nature. One step forward because the offense did seem like it was, improved from what we've been saying or seeing previously, which also says a lot about how bad things have looked. But one step forward, 11 steps back, man. Checking out these all 22 tapes have been so disgusting because you see so many plays left out there on the field, so many routine plays, and I know Aaron Rodgers hasn't been spot on, but if we're being realistic, he has absolutely been good enough to win every game except I think it was the Broncos game that he had 3 picks for. Absolutely good enough to win every single other one. And this is where you start really taking a look at the defense and wondering, what is this letdown about? We all knew that run defense wise we might potentially suffer, but seeing how guys are looking like they're running for 6, 7, 8 yards before they even get touched. You're seeing guys leading with their shoulder. You have the DJ Reed missed tackle versus Dawson Knox. You have Ashton Davis on a number of attempts where he just looked either hesitant to get in there to make the tackle, or when he did, he was leading with his shoulder and guys were just bouncing off of him. Sauce Gardner, we know tackling isn't his forte. Quincy Williams seemed a little out of touch with what has been generally excellent pass coverage for him. It just feels like everybody is really pressing, and ultimately the pressure is just too much for this team, right? I don't think the Jets especially with the situation we're in, interim head coach, and I know these guys probably love Ulbrich. They want to do their best for him, but offensively, it's not like we have a ton of answers. And defensively, if you're looking at this team and you have to go from a historical perspective, they're seeing that this is a real they've already seen before, right? It's deja vu. They know what this ending is. If they're playing elite, not letting up more than 10, 13 points, and they're seeing the offense struggle into the last 2 minutes to try to go and tie a game, to go into OT, or to win in the final minutes, you should be able to consistently get 24-point performances out of this group, right? And this is where, for a lot of those people that wanted some of these firings to happen earlier, there's a lot of credence here, right? Or credence here. If you had this roster, specifically the offense, if you give this offense to, I can name 5 random coaching staffs right now, whether they're somewhat more of defensive guys or just, offensive coordinators or head coach combinations that we love, this is a team that you can make an argument should be undefeated, right? So I don't know where we go from here, guys. Again, 1 step forward, 11 steps back. This definitely feels like same old Jets. I'm trying to hold out some optimism here. But we're done for excuses right now. And one of the things I'm glad, because the reporters generally don't ask a ton of pivotal questions, in my opinion. But I like the fact that they brought up, we're 6 weeks in. So, we're not even at the bye week. We're not halfway over. There's still definitely time to turn this around. Still, though, 6 weeks in, and you're seeing the same. The only consistent thing about the Jets is that we've been inconsistent, right? So at some point, you have to start being able to string some things together and being able to, turn this around. I would argue Bengals fans, for example, are much more confident in their ability to figure out why they haven't been able to get some of the wins that they probably should have. Whereas we feel more closely akin to a team like the Dallas Cowboys right now that are just in complete disarray, and it seems like there's very few, if any, answers going on in that building whatsoever. So I don't know where we go from here. Aaron Rodgers at this point feels like he has to play perfect, which is hard to do if guys aren't in sync with what you're expecting. And I don't know, this defense suddenly went from top 5 to, it feels like we could end up, in the low 20s. Right now, the way things are going, guys are able to, gash us whenever they want, and when they're not gashing us, it feels like they're able to, pinpoint in on players. DJ Reed, a lot of uncharacteristic pass interferences. You see them doing a lot more whining with the referees, which, in my opinion, as a former player, is always one of the primary indicators to me that mentally guys are struggling, right? There's a lot of worry about either their performance or the team at large or whatever the case is, but that's ultimately what's happening here. Mentally, the Jets are tapped. I don't know if they're just not bought in. You can 100% say that the Jets don't have a program right now, so if there's an idea, if there's a vision that's being sold right now, nobody's really caring to hear it. Nobody's really living up to it. And, for a team that's been preaching accountability, there is a long list of names here for guys who strongly need to look themselves in the mirror. And, if they're the caliber of guys they thought they were, top picks, or, just guys that have former Pro Bowl, All-Pro nods recently that thought they could live off of that, yeah. So I don't know. I don't see any wholesale changes, right? We've already done, the play caller switch ups and all that kind of stuff here. Yeah, at this point, I would say you almost have to make a declaration that nobody's job is safe, right? Things have to be reinvestigated all over again. For example, Brandon Echols is a good name that maybe should take a look at getting a bump up. Quantez Stiggers, who we saw ball out in preseason, start looking at guys like Isaiah Oliver, who was really a no-name the entire offseason, but he feels like he's made more plays than some of the starters have, and what I feel like has got to be less than maybe 50, 60 snaps. Defensive line-wise, it's a mess. Let me know what you guys ultimately think. Well, what are you taking away from this performance? Because I feel like I'm going to start rambling through this quite a bit, which probably happened, 6-7 minutes ago. But let me know how you're feeling. Where are you guys at with this whole thing? And I'll catch you guys again. Peace.